Super Blade Anime here, and today we are going to be attempting a shiny lock of Pokemon Fire Red, but with poison types. Poison is weak to both Psychic and Ground, both of which gym leaders have, but thankfully there's a good amount of poison types in Gen 1. But there is one we cannot get due to being version exclusive. So the odds of finding a shiny are 1 in 25, so they're really common. Now, let's go over the rules. 1. If a Pokemon faints, I must release it. 2. I must nickname every Pokemon. 3. Every shiny must be legitimately hunted, meaning no cheating, no trading, no hacking. Now, with that being said, let's get started. Now, I head over to Professor Oak's lab to go and pick my starter. I already have a good idea on what my starter is going to be. It's a very easy choice. I am going to pick Bulbasaur due to the fact that it's already a poison type and it's a grass type, making it so that ground attacks only do neutral. So now, I'll see you when we get the shiny. And there we have it. I get my shiny Bulbasaur on the very first encounter, which is kind of insane. Anyways, I name it Juno after a shiny hunter whose favorite Pokemon is Bulbasaur. So yeah, there we go. Now time to battle our rival, who sends out his Charmander. I start by going for a tackle, but then Charmander goes for a scratch. I go for another tackle while Charmander goes for another scratch. I go for a third tackle, but Charmander speeds with a scratch. I go for another tackle, then Charmander goes for a scratch. Then I go for a tackle, KOing the Charmander, beating our rival. I head on over to Viridian City. I grab the parcel, then deliver it to Oak. Now time to go for my next member, Weedle. I'll see you when I get the shiny. And there we go. After 15 encounters, I get my next shiny. It's a good one, I think so. Anyway, I go and decide to name it Berry due to the fact that its final evolution is a bee, kind of like the Beat movie. After a bit of leveling up, Juno evolves into an Ivysaur. But Barry evolves all the way into a Beedrill. Now his name makes sense. Now time to battle Brock, who is stupid easy by the way. I sent out Juno while he sent out his Geodude. I go and use Vine Whip, one hit KO in the Geodude, because it's due to the fact that it's a 4x weakness. And now he sends out his Onix, who is shiny by the way. He goes and uses Vine, but the attack misses. I go for a Vine Whip, earning us the first gym badge. And now time to go for my next shiny, Nidoran Male. I'll see you when I get the shiny. Finally, after 237 encounters, I finally get shiny Nidoran Male. Okay, I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but for this ROM, that's like 9 times over odds, which is kind of insane. Alright, we finally got it. Anyways, after all that drama, I decide to name it Eiffel 65. You know, like the song I'm Blue? No? Okay. After a bit though, Eiffel 65 evolves into a Nidorino. Now time to go for my next member, Zubat. See you when I get the shiny. And there we go. After 9 encounters, I get my next shiny, Zubat. Thankfully, this one was a lot quicker than the last one. Afterwards, I decide to name my Zubat Bruce Wayne, even though it's a female, but who cares? I'm still gonna name it that because I can. Then afterwards, I grab the Moonstone, using it to fully evolve Eiffel 65 into a Nidoking. Now time to go for my next member, Ekans. I'll see you when I get the shiny. And there we go, shiny Ekans after 61 encounters. Yes, that is double over odds. Anyways, we found it. And then I decided to name my shiny Ekans King Cobra. I know it's just a snake, but later on when it evolves, its name is gonna make sense. Now time for the next rival fight. My rival sends out Pidgeotto, while I send out Eiffel 65. I go for a Rock Tomb, doing half damage, lowering its speed. Vegito goes for a sand attack, which is kind of annoying. Vegito goes for a quick attack. Well, Rock Tomb misses. I go for Rock Tomb, getting critical hit, KOing the Pidgeotto. Next, he sends out his Abra, which only knows teleport, so this should be a piece of cake. I go for Rock Tomb, one hit KOing the Abra. Then he sends out his Rattata, which using double kick, I miss the attack. It goes for Tail Whip, but I go for another. He goes for a quick attack, so I go for double kick, KOing the Rattata. Now he sent out his Charmander. I go for a Rock Tomb, but the attack misses. He goes for an Ember, but they're not doing a lot. I go for Rock Tomb, doing almost enough damage, lowering its speed. And Charmander goes for an Ember, which doesn't do a lot. I go for Rock Tomb, KOing the Charmander, beating our rival for the second time. Now time to go for my next member, Oddish. I'll see you when I get the shiny. After 21 encounters, I get my next shiny, and it's a good one, I gotta say. Then I go and name it David, for no apparent reason. Now I grab the tickets from Bill. Now time to battle Misty, my favorite gym leader. She sends out her Staryu while I go for a Vine Whip. It uses a Harden, raising its defense. But even then, I almost defeat it. Then use Super Push. But then one more Vine Whip and I'm in confidence, I go for Tackle. And I was right. Then she sent out Storm. It goes as a Swift while I go for a Vine Whip, almost doing half. It goes for another Swift while I go for another Vine Whip, getting a critical hit, earning us the second gym badge. Then, after a bit, Bruce Wayne evolves into a Golbat. And then, shortly after that, King Cobra evolves into Arbok. Now his name finally makes sense. Then, on top of that, Oddish evolves into a Gloom. Now time to battle my rival again. He sends out his Pidgeotto while I send out Eiffel 65. I go for a Rock Tomb, but the attack misses. He goes for a Sand attack, making my life more of a pain. He goes for its quick attack, but I go for Rock Tomb, nearly KOing it, but lowering its speed. I decide to go for a quick attack, but I go for another Rock Tomb, KOing the Pidgeotto. He goes and sends out Kadabra, while I send out Bruce Wayne. Thankfully, Kadabra is frail, so this hopefully won't be too hard, but ow, a critical hit, Confusion almost KOs me. I'm gonna switch out. I switch out to King Cobra because of the Intimidate, and also because I think he's gonna live better. And he goes for Confusion, nearly KOing King Cobra, but I finally KO the Kadabra with a bite. Next up is the Eradicate, which I send out Eiffel 65 for. I go for a double kick, easily KOing the Eradicate. Then he sends out Charmeleon, which I go for my new move, Dig. He goes for a Smoke Screen, but the attack misses. I go for a Dig, one hit KOing the Charmeleon, beating my rival for the third time. Afterwards, I get the HM cut, and then teach it to David. Now time to battle the third gym leader. He goes and sends out his Voltorb while I send out Eiffel 65. I go for a Dig while the Voltorb uses his tackle, but it misses because of my Dig. I one hit KO the Voltorb. Then he sends out his Pikachu. I go for another Dig while he uses a double team, making it harder. He misses a quick attack, but the Dig lands, KOing the Pikachu. Then he sends out his Raichu, the thing that gives me nightmares. It goes for a quick attack. I go for a Dig, one hit KOing the Raichu, earning us the third gym badge. Anyways, I head over to Lavender Town, then head over to Celadon City. I buy a Leaf Stone, and then David fully evolves into a Vileplume. Now time to battle Giovanni. He goes and sends out his Onix while I send out Juno. Another very easy battle. I go and use Razor Leaf, KOing the Onix. Then he goes and sends out Rhyhorn. Anyway, he sends out Rhyhorn. I one hit KO it because of its 4x weakness to grass. He sends out his Kangaskhan, which I switched into Berry for due to the fact that it has Brick Break. But the fake now flinches Berry, it goes for Kangaskhan goes for Tail Whip. I go for Break Break, not even doing half. He goes for another Tail Whip, but I go for another Break Break, almost doing enough. Scared that it's gonna KO, I go and switch on to Eiffel 65, who is paralyzed from an earlier battle. He goes for a bite, but it flinches, but the poison KOs the Kangaskhan, beating Giovanni. And after that fight, Juno evolves into a Venusaur. Now time to battle Olga. She goes and sends out a Victory Ball where I send out Bruce Wayne. I go for a wing attack doing about half damage. He goes for a stun spore paralyzing Bruce Wayne. He goes for an acid, while I go for another wing attack KOing the Victory Bell. He goes and sends out Tangela. But on this turn, I go and use a paralyzed heal to heal Bruce Wayne. In this case, I go and use a wing attack, almost KOing the Tangela. It goes for Constrict, absorbing. And then she uses a Hyper Potion, which kinda sucks. But one wing attack almost KOs it. And then another wing attack finally KOs the Tangela. Now she sends out her Violet. I go for a wing attack, doing half damage. It goes for a stun spore, paralyzing Bruce Wayne again. And it goes for acid. Then I go for a wing attack, earning us the 4th gym badge. Now time for the next rival fight. He goes and sends out Pidgeotto, and I make the mistake of sending out Juno. Then I actually switch into Eiffel 65. I go for a Rock Tomb, almost KOing the Pidgeotto. Then he uses Sand Attack, which is very annoying. He goes for a quick attack, then the Rock Tomb misses. I go for a Rock Tomb, KOing the Pidgeotto. Now he sends out Execute, into which I switch out into Bruce Wayne. I go for a wing attack, almost KOing the Execute. But this time I go for a bite, this time actually KOing the Execute. He goes and sends out his Kadabra. Then I go for a bite, one hit KOing the Kadabra. He goes and sends out his Gyarados, which I switch into Eiffel 65, intimidating me. I go for a Rock Tomb, doing decent damage, lowering its speed. It goes for a Thrash, but I go for a Rock Tomb, and lowering its speed again. It goes for another Thrash, but the Poison Point gets it. And then I go for one more Rock Tomb, KOing the Gyarados. He goes to switch on to Charmeleon, which is easy because I go for a Dig. It misses Smokescreen. I use Dig, one hit KOing the Charmeleon with a critical hit. Now time to go for my next member, Ghastly. See you when I get the shiny. And there we go. After 18 encounters, I get my next target, which is my favorite shiny, by the way. My god, that thing looks gorgeous in this game. And then I decided to name my Ghastly Austin, after one of my best friends whose favorite Pokemon is the whole Ghastly line. I head over to Fuchsia City and go to the Safari Zone to hunt for my next 2 members, Venonat and Nidorina. I'll see you when I get both of those. And there we go. After 31 encounters, I get my next shiny, Venonat. And now, let's watch this. Are we gonna catch or fail it? It was caught. Very good. And just for no apparent reason, I name it iCarly. It's just the first name that came up with mine. I don't know why I named it that. But we still need our next member, Nidorina, or Nidoran female, I guess whichever one shows up in this place. Anyway, I'll see you when I get one of those shiny. And there we have it, shiny Nidoran female after the worst number ever, 68 encounters. That's disappointing. Anyway, are we gonna catch or fail it? Let's see. And we catch it. Anyway, after that, I decided to name her Terra. Now time for the next battle, Koga. He goes and sends out his coughing, while I send out Eiffel 65. I go for a surf, doing about a good amount. I use a hyper potion. I go for another surf, doing about the same. Go for another surf, KOing the coughing. Then he sends out his annoying muck, which in this case I go for a dig. It goes for a minimize, hiring the evasiveness. I do about half damage. Then he goes for another minimize. Then I go for another dig. It goes for another minimize, and I KO the muck after 2 digs. Then he sends out his shiny coughing. I decide to go for Shadow Ball this time, not doing nearly enough. Then, after doing a surf, I KO the coughing. Then he sends out wheezing. I go for a surf, not even doing half. Then I go for a Shadow Ball, doing a little bit, doing not that much damage. I do not know what to do, so I just kept spamming moves until things happened. Goes for a hyper potion, making my life harder. Go for a surf, then a second surf, then he goes for a smoke screen. I go for one more surf, KOing the wheezing, earning us the 5th gym badge. Now time to go for my next member, Tentacool. I'll see you when I get the shiny. And there we go. After 6 encounters, I get my next member. After catching it, I decided to name it something very unoriginal, Squidward, because it makes sense. Now time for the next rival fight. He sends out his Pidgeot this time, while I still have Rock Tomb on Eiffel 65, doing about half damage and lowering its speed. It goes for a wing attack, not doing a lot. I hit the second Rock Tomb, KOing the Pidgeot. He goes and sends out Execute while I sent out Bruce Wayne. I go for a wing attack, doing about half damage. Well, I use it as stun sport, but the attack misses. I go for another wing attack, KOing the Execute. Then he sends out Alakazam, and in which case I sent out Eiffel 65 for Shadow Ball, one hit KOing the Alakazam. He sends out his Gyarados, which is pretty scary because it's a water type. I go for a Rock Tomb, lowering its speed, but it goes for a Leer, lowering my defense. I go for another Rock Tomb, but it misses. It goes for a Bite, but the Poison Point and gets the Gyarados. I go for the Rock Tomb, doing more damage, lowering its speed. It goes for another Bite, does it not know any water moves? And then I go for one last Rock Tomb, out Charizard. I go for a Rock Tomb, doing about half damage. It goes for a Scary Face. I use a Flamethrower, I go for another Rock Tomb, KOing our rival. Now time for the next battle. Giovanni. He sent out Nidorino as I did not expect. So I sent out Eiffel 65, and Nidorino goes for Furious. I decided to go for a dig while I was going for Poison Sting. I nearly won the KO. I go for a Surface System, KO and Nidorino for sure. Then, very nosy Brick Break, so that helps a lot. I go and use that move, doing about half of it. Well, it goes for a Tail Whip. Another Brick Break, KO is calm. He goes and sends out Rhyhorn while I send out Duke. I go for Razor Leaf, one hit KOing the Rhyhorn due to its 4x weakness. Now he sends out Nidoqueen, which I send out Eiffel 5 for, because of the surf. For doing so, I go for a surf, not even doing half while it goes for a Poison Sting. But thankfully, due to its 4x resistance to poison, it does good. It goes for a Body Slam, but thankfully no Para, and then we KO the Nidoqueen, defeating Giovanni. We're about to fight the scariest gym in the entire game, but before that, I grab Austin. Then after a bit, Austin evolves into a Haunter. And sadly, because this is on an emulator, I can't evolve into Gengar, so that's disappointing. Now time for the scariest battle of the entire game, Sabrina. She goes and sends out Kadabra, while I send out Austin the Haunter. I go and use a Shadow Ball, one hit KOing the Kadabra. Then she sends out Mr. Mime. sends out a Venomoth while I send out Barry. I go and use an aerial ace, one-hit KOing it, earning us the 6th gym badge. That was not as scary as I was expecting. Wow. Now time to go for our next member, Coffee. I'll see you when I get the shiny. And there we go, 3 encounters for the shiny. One thing though, I kind of forgot to buy Ultra Balls, and this thing might have self-destruct. So we'll just see how that goes. Oh, never mind, I got it first of all. Alright, that's great. Afterwards, I know I kind of felt like it. I don't know, it just felt like a good name. So, one thing I kind of forgot to mention is that there's actually Rhyme. But thing is, it's kinda rare. So, I'll see you when I get that shiny. So that was a lot shorter than I was expecting. There it is, Shiny Grimer after 39 encounters, which is pretty good for this ROM. Then, I go ahead and name him Slimer after the green slimy ghost from Ghostbusters. Now time to battle one. He goes and sends out his Growlithe. I send out iPhone 65, bringing me with the Intimidate. I go for a Rock Slide, one-hit KOing the Growlithe. Now he sends out Ponyta. I go for another Rock Slide, nearly one-hit KOing it, but it hits me with a Fire Blast. He uses a Hyper Potion. I go and use a Surf, one-hit KOing the Ponyta. Clinton can send out his Rapidash. I tried using a Fire Blast. I nearly killed it, then I a Rapidash. I go and use a Surf, KOing the Rapidash. Now he sends out Arcanine. Movement to Intimidate, which is kind of scary. I go for a Surf, doing half damage. It goes for a Fire Blast. One more Surf, takes it out, earning us 7th damage. Now time to battle the scariest gym leader, Eli. He goes and sends out Rhyhorn. I send out Judy. I go and use a Razor Leaf, one-hit KOing the Rock. Then he goes and sends out Dugtrio, which uses an Earthquake but doesn't do a lot. Then I one-hit KOing the Dugtrio. Then he sends out Nidoqueen, and in which I send out Haunt Austin due to the fact that it has Levitate and is 4 times resistant to poison. See, look at that. He uses a Hyper Potion, but I go and use another Psychic, almost KOing it. Then he uses another Hyper Potion, in which I just use another Psychic with special defense falls. I use one more Psychic, KOing the Nidoqueen. And he sends out his Nidoking. I go for a Psychic, one-hit KOing the Nidoking. Last but not least, this last Rhyhorn, which Juno can easily take out. I go for Razor Leaf, one-hit KOing the Rhyhorn, earning us the last gym badge. Now time for one of the last rival fights. He goes and sends out his Pidgeot. I sent out Eiffel 65. I go and use Rock Slide, almost KOing. Poison Point gets to it. I go and use another Rock Slide, one-hit KOing. Oh no, just KOing the Pidgeot. Goes and sends out Alakazam. Being brave, Shadow Ball, I use it, KOing Alakazam. Then he sends out his Gyarados. I go for a Rock Slide, doing okay damage. The Gyarados flinches. I go for another Rock Slide, then it goes for a Hydro Pump. Thankfully not KOing me. I go for another Rock Slide, KOing the Gyarados. My lord, that was close. Then he sends out his Charizard. I go and use a full restore on Eiffel 65. While Charizard goes for just a slash. I go for a Rock Slide, nearly almost KOing it, but it flinches again. So I almost use it, and he's a scary face, thankfully. then uses Flamethrower, almost KOing, then I KO the Charizard. Then he uses Rhyhorn, in which to that I switch out into Juno because of its grass typing. And then I one-hit KO it with Razor Leaf. He goes and sends out his Execute. Into that I switch on to Barry now that it knows a decent bug attack, Pen Missile. I go and use it, and just 2 of them KOs the Execute, beating our rival again. Now time to battle Lorelei. He goes and sends out Dugong while I send out Juno. I go and use a Razor Leaf, one-hit KOing due to a critical hit. Then she goes and sends out Slowbro, which is one of my favorite shinies by the way. I go and use a Razor Leaf, doing about half damage. I go and use a Yawn, but then I use another Razor Leaf, KOing the Slowbro. He goes and sends out Lapras while I send out Barry. I go for Brick Break, hoping for the best. It almost one-hit KOs with a critical hit. And then it restores its health with a Citrus Berry. And she uses a Forest Store while I'm confused. So that basically did nothing except hurt me. I snap out of confusion, go for a Brick Break, almost KOing it with another critical hit. This is a Body Slam. I go for another Brick Break, KOing the Lapras. That's honestly the best case scenario. After healing, he sends out Cloyster and Bill uses Protect. I go and use Brick Break, but it uses Protect again. He uses another Protect. And then I go for a Brick Break, doing good damage while he uses a hit. And I go for another Brick Break, almost KO'd it, but he goes for a Slip. And now it's gonna use a full Restore as it does. Then I go and use a Brick Break. Another Brick Break. Leaf ulted, almost KOing it. It hides underwater, ulted by Hail. I fail he'll Brick Break will use his dive. Then Hail stops. It uses a full Restore. While I go for another Brick Break. I go for yet another Brick Break. Then uses Hail. And then I go for one last Brick Break, finally KOing the Cloyster. Then Lorelei sends out Jinx, as I send out Austin with the Shadow Ball. I go and use Shadow Ball, almost KOing the Jinx. It goes for a Lovely Kiss, making Austin fall asleep. But thankfully, full Restores help with that, and even that too. It goes for another Ice Punch, and the Hail stops. I go land a Shadow Ball, defeating Lorelei. Now it's a battle Bruno. He goes and sends out his Onix, while I send out Juno. I know it's perfect because the 4x grass weakness. I KO the Onix, while he goes and sends out Hitmonchan. I send out Bruce Wayne, while Bruno goes and sends out Hitmonchan. I go for an Air Cutter, doing about half damage. It goes for a Rock Dude, but doesn't do that much damage, lowering also my speed. It goes for a Mach Punch, but barely does damage due to the 4x resistance, KOing the Hitmonchan with an Air Cutter. He goes and sends out his Machamp, while I send out Austin, I should say. I do about half damage a second. He uses a Rock Dude, but doesn't do a lot except lower my speed, and heal with Citrus Berry, but another Psychic gets the job done. Then Bruno sends out Onix, while I send out Juno. I go for a Razor Leaf, one-hit KOing the Onix. He goes and sends out his Hitmonchan. I go and use a Psychic, almost KOing it, lowering its special defense. It goes and uses Foresight, but he uses a full Restore, just like the Cloyster. Then I go for another Psychic, one KOing the Hitmonlee, defeating Bruno. Now time to battle. It goes and sends out Gengar while I sent out Austin. I go and use a Psychic, one-hit KOing the Gengar. Then she sends out Golbat, which is dead by another Psychic, almost. It goes and uses a Fight, and she uses a full Restore. I'm very scared of this one. Then I use a Psychic, this time KOing the Golbat, freeing me from for my worries. And because I'm scared, she sends out Haunter, while I send out King Cobra for the Intimidate. I go and use a bite, doing about half damage while he uses Hypnosis. I go and heal it from its sleeping while he uses a Jury Meter. I go and use another bite, KOing the Haunter. He goes and sends out Gengar. He uses Hypnosis, but King Cobra falls asleep again. After healing, it goes and uses a Shadow Ball. I go and use Motherfucker. It fails to use Nightmare. He goes for a Shadow Ball, getting critical hit, but I go for a bite, doing good damage. Well, this is the part where King Cobra gets sacrificed. Almost. Anyway, it's Citrus Berry restores its health, and well, King Cobra, you were amazing. Oh, you had to be sacrificed. Anyway, I go and send out Bruce Wayne and accidentally do that. I go and heal Bruce Wayne while it fails to use Nightmare. Thankfully, it's like it never happened. If the attack misses, I go for a bite, almost KOing it. Then she uses the Restore. Then I go for a bite, doing decent damage. Goes for a Shadow Ball, I do another bite, almost KOing. Goes for Hypnosis and he's asleep. It goes for a Shadow Ball, lowering my special defense. This could be a problem. Lowering my special defense again. I go for a bite, mildly KOing this Gengar. Then she goes and sends out Arbok while I send out Eiffel 65 due to its ground type. I go and use an Earthquake, nearly KOing it. Then it just goes for a Screech. And then I use another Earthquake, KOing the Arbok, beating Agumon. Now to Battle Wolf. He goes and sends out his Gyarados, in which I send out Eiffel 65. Intimidates me when I go for a Shockwave, nearly KOing the Gyarados. It just goes for a bite. Poison Point gets hurt by the poison, KOing the Gyarados. Then he sends out Gyarados, in which I just use the Surf while using it. Poison Point gets it again, and I almost KO it. Poison almost gets it as well. Then Lance uses a full Restore, but in which to that I just use Ice Beam, almost KOing it, and uses Hyper Beam, then I use a Surf, KOing the Aerodactyl. Then he sends out Dragonite. This one I'm very scared of, so I'm gonna heal. Dealing, he just used a Wing Attack, which was a lot less scary than I expected. Anyways, I use an Ice Beam, KOing the Dragonite due to its 4x Ice weakness. Then he sends out a Dragonair, which I use another Ice Beam, KOing the Dragonair with a critical hit. Then he sends out his second Dragonair. I KO it with another Ice Beam, and boom, we defeat Lance. Somehow he was the easiest out of the 4 Elite Four members. Now time for the champion battle. He goes and sends out his Pidgeot, or I send out Eiffel 65. I go for a Rock, which is about half. Well, he goes for the Aerial. I go for another Rock Slide, KOing the Pidgeot. Then he sends out his Alexander. I go and use a Shadow Ball, still one hit KOing it. He sends out his Rhydon while I send out Juno. I go and use a Razor, one hit KOing the Rhydon. He sent out his Charizard while I sent out Eiffel 65. I'm hoping for the best. I go for a Rock Slide and it one hit KOs due to its 4x weakness. Then he sends out Exeggutor. Then I use out Barry. That didn't make any sense. I go and use a Pin Missile, doing a lot of damage due to its 4x weakness. And there we go. And taking down the Exeggutor. Then he sends out his Gyarados, the Pokemon I'm most scared of, just because of the fact that it's a water type and everything, and the Intimidate. I go and use a Rock Slide, doing okay damage. It goes for a Hydro Pump, KOing the Eiffel 65. Then I go and send out Austin. I go and use a Confuse Ray, confusing the Gyarados. It hurts itself in confusion. I go and use a Psychic, almost KOing it. Then he uses a Hydro Ball, thankfully knocking it. Go for another second, getting critical hit, beating Champion Blue. There we go. So is it possible to beat Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green